Tesla's Cybertruck. It's finally here. The company's Cybertruck delivery event just wrapping up in Austin, Texas. Here's Elon Musk from the start of the event.
We have a car here that experts said was impossible, that experts said would never be made. That it really is the most. I think it's our best product. I think it's the most unique thing on the road. And finally, the future will look like the future.
Joining us now is Barron's senior writer Al Root. Al, it's great to see you. I was talking to Diane earlier in the show, and I was telling her I really don't think, Al, I've ever come across a vehicle that elicits the kind of emotional response that this truck does. I don't know if that's the truck or Elon Musk. Maybe it's a bit of both, Al. Give me your take on the truck, what you're seeing today, and what you think, Al, ultimately demand is going to look like for the Cybertruck.
So I think you're right. I think it's a combination of everything. It's definitely the look, right? It is. He's right. It's unlike anything you're going to see on the road, whether it's good or bad. Who knows? It'll be good to some extent because there's always a niche for some people that want to be a little different. The question is, can this be sort of a mass market product? Can this be sort of the turning point in automotive design that Elon probably would like it to be? The interesting thing for Tesla is we're not going to know for a long period of time. Tesla's already set up the fact that this is incredibly difficult to build. You talk about volumes. Wall Street expects about 1,500 of these to be delivered this year, 78,000 next year. Tesla itself says we can't get to producing 250,000 a year on a run rate basis till at least 2025. So that's like December 25, they can make 40,000 of these a month. Now, it's really interesting because the pre-orders for these things, there's like 1 million pre-orders, but you only had to put $100 down. It was fully refundable to get on the list. So we just don't know what demand will be like. The market has sort of moved off this idea that, this will drive margins and sales for Tesla. And now we're hoping that it's sort of like so cool that it drives this halo effect and it'll end up selling more, Model 3 and Ys.
So speaking of just the audience for this, and again, you gave numbers about the 1 million people who have put down this deposit. Yes, it was a cheap deposit, so there's, low skin in the game in terms of your commitment to this. Can this compete with an F-150 or Ram?
That is. So what do I think? I think I tend to be too in the weeds on cars and too rational, right? So I think features and benefits ultimately win. So if this has leading towing and leading range and features that excite people from a truck perspective, then yes, I think it will win its version of market share. Now that's to be seen. We talked to Ford and we talked to General Motors. General Motors today said to me, listen, we feel very comfortable that our electric Silverado will stack up very well and that people will prefer that form factor to the Tesla. So they'll battle it out, and that's to be seen. Now, one thing I would say is I do think that sort of that performance luxury car buyer will consider a Cybertruck. The Cyber Beast model starts at $100,000. That's not really a truck. That's sort of a luxury car, sort of thing. I don't have $100,000, but if I did, sure, I would test drive this one as well. So I'm not dodging the question, but there will be a segment of people that treat this like a sports car, and then we're going to have to see if this will end up in fleets doing real work of American trucks.
One of the issues with regard to the EV space, Al, has been range and why there is not wider adoption of electric vehicles. I just saw someone tweeting saying, the range of the Cybertruck, it's not worth it. What's your take on range and the value and the potential buy-in for the Cybertruck?
So I would agree. So the price, people were hoping from a range of like 50 to 80,000 for all the trim levels. People are hoping to see maybe a max of 500 miles of range because especially when you're towing in an EV, that saps range quite significantly when you're pulling a trailer, something like that. So 500 miles is a little better than like a sedan, which typically comes at 250 or 300. So I would call, I'm going to get emails on this, I would call the range and the price slightly disappointing. So that's not as good as I would have hoped. Now, in terms of adoption of the truck, I'm going to dodge the question again. For a couple of years, no matter how many of these get delivered, Tesla will declare victory, because I think there is enough people in that sort of unique want a Tesla. They could ship 100, 1,000 of these, no problem. And then they can say, look, we went from 1,500 to 200,000. We still got all these orders. Great. But you asked the right question. Is this enough range to see this penetrate the truck business in a more substantial way? Ford, if you look back at the beginning of the year, before we ran into some EV hiccups, wanted perhaps 10% of their total F-150 sales to be F-150 Lightnings. They won't come even close to that. Now, some of it's production problems, but some of it might be those features and benefits you're hinting at.
And Al, I want to get you out of here on this, and it is a subject you kind of touched on earlier. This idea of the halo effect, Al, that the truck could kind of reinvigorate a brand that some argue at least has lost a bit of shine because of the lack of new models. One, I'm just interested, Al, do you buy that? And secondly, do you think it could sort of help kind of motivate sales of other models, the Model 3s and Ys?
So, there are pluses and minuses to everything you said. So in the car business, I do cars all the time. They have halo cars. They all do. The Corvette's a halo car. The Cadillac Celestiq, which is this 300,000 EV that they're launching, they're hoping that accrues to the brand. So that's actually a thing. So to some extent, we can buy that story. How much it will boost 3 and Y sales, that is to be determined. I do think it can help. Now, Tesla has recently been saying on a corporate level, like we're in a slightly slower period of growth, right? They're going to do about 1.8 million units this year. Wall Street believes they can do about 2.2 million units next year. Can they do 2.2 million? Yes, but ultimately, halos exist. But what they really need is sort of a lower price sedan, a la some of the EVs that are being sold in China. That opens up sort of a different market for them, not one that people want $100,000 cars, but people who are interested in EVs, but are looking in that $25,000, $35,000 range. That is what will drive sales growth materially in 25, 26, 27 for Tesla, and we have yet to see that car.
All right, Al Root, Barron's, we will have to leave it there. Thank you so much for the insight on the Cybertruck. We appreciate your time.
Thanks.